Thank you for coming here today. Today we have Yoshiko Sakurai, who is a journalist and was a journalist and is the current president of the Japan Institute for National Fundamentals. Sakurai-san is a former journalist herself, and
I'm still a journalist.
very
Every
good.
week.
I appreciate your correction. Very appreciate it. Thank you. She is a journalist and has been for several years a news presenter for Nippon television. She has since become one of Japan's most prominent historical revisionists. She is a supporter of right-wing lobby group Nippon Kaigi and president of the Japan Institute for National Fundamentals, a conservative think tank. She and her supporters have long argued that the comfort women were not taken by force. And I just want to mention to you that yesterday, Mr. Takashi Uemura, a former journalist with the Asahi newspaper, was here and spoke here about the case that you are all familiar with. And today we are happy to have Sakurai-san here speak on her about the case. Thank you.
皆さん、今日はありがとうございました。司会の方のご紹介をありがたく思いますけれども、まず私をリーディング・リビジョニストというふうにご紹介なさいました。このこと自体が私はある種の価値判断を持って一方的な見方をしているのではないかと思います。
First of all, thank you very much, everyone, for coming today. Yesterday, you listened to Mr. Uemura's press conference, and today you are going to hear what I need to say. So I would ask you to listen to the both sides and to take it consideration. And I'm quite thankful that how the master of the ceremony introduced me, which was a leading religious. So this was quite a one-sided way of the value to put on me. And also, I would like to mention that I have no relationship with Nihon Kaigi, and so this is totally a wrong precondition. So I need to say before starting the press conference, the precondition is wrong. First of all, we would like to explain the decision made by the District Court of the Sapporo, which was made in November 9th. And we would like to explain how it was. And I would like to have Ms. Izumi Hayashi, who is my lawyer. Then after that, I would like to talk about how I see this situation.
皆様どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。
Thank you, everyone. I believe you have an English version of the summary in front of you. So this decision is quite long, and even the main part takes 68 pages. So therefore, it is quite difficult to make a very accurate summary. However, the summary that Mr. Uemura handed out yesterday at here, which is the English version of how the court decision was made, I believe it was wrong. So therefore, I decided to make the rough translation. This is just a draft, but we thought we should also make the English version of the handout. As you know, this incident started back in August 11, 1991, the article Mr. Uemura wrote on the Asahi newspaper. So in the proposition of the statement, he stated that there was a woman called, later to be known as Ms. Kim Hak-sun, was taken to the Joshite Shintai. Then he discovers she's still alive living in Seoul. So after 23 years, Asahi newspaper made a correction saying that this article, in which stating that this woman called Kim Hak-sun was taken to the Joshite Shintai, was wrong. The description was wrong. So therefore, they made a correction of the article. So the point of the court case that Mr. Uemura made a claim to the court was that even though Mr. Uemura knew that Ms. Kim was not entrainment to the Joshi Shintai, the organization called Joshite Shintai, but he, knowing that it was not really the case, he even though he knew it, he wrote it in the article. That was the point of the case. So as a result, the court decision was made in such that Sakurai treatise was saying that the truth, and also there is a good reason to believe that there are the important truth was made in her statement. So the best way to prove whether Mr. Uemura wrote this article, even though he knew the truth was something different in Article A, the best way to verify it is to listen to the tape that that article was based on. However, Mr. Uemura said in the court case that he does not have the copy of the tape. He also stated that he does not have the memo that he took when he listened to this tape in 1991. So the next way to verify the situation is back to see the report that was made in 1991 when Ms. Kim Haksun made this talk. So the court decision made those cases, the three cases, that was a report in a Hungarian newspaper that was made in and also the statement for the court case that made to the court on December 1st, and that statement was made by the lawyer who talked to Ms. Kim, and also on the next year, May 5th, Ms. Usuki made a paper thesis. Then those three documents were made as a proof of the judgment. So the court decision was made based on those three proofs, and there is a reason to believe this is a truth as a certain credibility. So therefore, there is a reason for Ms. Sakurai to believe that Ms. Kim was taken. So in the court, the statement from the court this time it was made, and on the page 50, because Ms. Sakurai made those used as a material to make her thesis in the court case of the statement, and it cannot be said that there is an inefficiency to believe. And all the details are in the handout that you have in front of you. But if I may introduce some of it, actually, Mr. Uemura himself made a statement that he. In the talk of Ms. Kim Haksun, she said she was cheated and taken to this organization, and that was stated by Mr. Uemura at the court case. And also in the court case, from the question from the judge, he answered as follows. So it says that in this article, what I said that Ms. Kim was entrained to the Joshi Teishintai. What I meant was comfort women was known as a Joshi Teishintai in Korea. So I recognize that she was not taken by the law or regulation. The court decision also says as follows. So it says that comfort women or comfort women in the battle was something happened before the World War II ended, Pacific War ended, and Joshi Teishintai was something different, and it was totally unrelated. So the court decision was made that there is a good reason for Ms. Sakurai to believe that she was taken and trained to the Joshi Teishintai, was used as a name of Joshi Teishintai by the Japanese military. And looking at those facts, the plaintiff was using the comfort women and also Joshi Teishintai, and under the name of the Joshi Teishintai, Ms. Kim was taken to the organization. So there is a good reason for Ms. Sakurai to believe it. So for the point of the discussion is a defamation of this case. There is the good reasons cannot be said that there is an inefficiency in belief to the other truth. So the judge decision was made that they recognize that there is a certain reason to believe as a truth. And the other point in this court case, which was the point was the defamation, was in the description there was whether or not there is a benefit for the public. Yeah, on this point, as you can see it on the handout, page 3, and on the bottom. The court decided as follows. Yeah, it said that in view of the contents of each Sakurai thesis and the time when these papers were written and posted, the subject of each description criticized the posture of Asahi Shimbun on the comfort women issue and related article written by the plaintiff. So the comfort women issue is not limited only to the Japan-Korean relationship, but it is also taken as an issue at the United Nations and also the Parliament of the United States. So therefore, looking at the situation of the comfort women, for the Ms. Sakurai's statement to talk about this statement, looking at the attitude of the Asahi newspaper's report, it has a benefit for the public. So therefore, as a conclusion, even each of the statement lowers the social evaluation of plaintiffs illegally to be obstructed. Intention and negligence is also denied. Needless to judge other points, the plaintiff's claim is rejected because there is no reason for either. That's all.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much. So now I would like to make my statement, mainly pointing at three things. So in terms of the comfort women, for whatever the reason is, I feel really unfortunate and sorry for those women who were forced to be those comfort women, and it should never happen again. And I also have very strong anger towards those women's prostitution that happens all over the world. That's totally a violation of women's human rights. And for whatever the reasons, I feel strongly in such. However, having said it, it is a different issue that those reports who said that the Japanese military took and trained those women to force to be a sexual slave. So this is related to my third point, but which I'm going to mention afterwards. But the responsibility of Asahi newspaper and Mr. Uemura is quite heavy. And the second point is Mr. Uemura is a former reporter of Asahi newspaper. And also he's a publisher of the Shukan Kinyobi, the Weekly Friday, meaning that he is a very stated journalist or who make the statement. So therefore, whoever who is involved in a speech, why he does not make the argument in this over the speech and in the journalism or the in the position of the journalism, why he does not make the expression of what he thinks. If a journalist feels not right for whoever says about his or her article, he should make a counter argument for that. But if he brings to the court case, that is almost giving up the responsibility as a journalist. My third point is such. I believe Mr. Uemura's articles should be taken as a part of the whole Asahi newspaper. Please allow me to explain it, even if it takes a long time. Somebody called Seiji Yoshida, who violated Japan's reputation by making the forgery article, appeared in 1982. He, in his book, Seiji Yoshida writes that by order of the Japanese military, he has taken Korean women to Joshi Teishintai. So he went around to Seju Island to get those women. And in the speeches he made in many different places, Mr. Yoshida said that those women, he took those women in a very violent way. At that time, I believe there are so many Japanese people who were quite surprised. Because in Japan, Joshi Teishintai and also comfort women, those are two separate things. However, Mr. Yoshida wrote in his book that by the order of Japanese military, under the name of Joshi Teishintai, he has taken those Korean women to the organization. So therefore, at the beginning, many Japanese people did not believe what Mr. Yoshida wrote. However, Asahi newspaper reported about Mr. Yoshida and also his statement multiple times. As you know, Asahi newspaper is noted to be a trustworthy newspaper in Japan and also all over the world. And this newspaper, trustworthy newspaper, repeatedly writing about Mr. Yoshida's statement in the articles resulted in those Japanese people started thinking there must be some kind of truth in it. And in such a mood was made, and after 9 years, less than 10 years in my memory, the Asahi newspaper started using the Mr. Seiji Yoshida's report, and in August 11, 1991, Mr. Uemura's article came out. The beginning of the article says such. So as Ms. Hayashi already mentioned, but however, I'm repeating myself. So in the head of the article, he said, during the Japan-China War and also the World War II, under the name of Joshi Te Shintai, the Korean women was taken to do the prostitution towards the Japanese military men, and one of those Korean comfort women is discovered to survive and to be living in a Seoul. And at that time, for example, my colleague and also the person who is reporting and working together with me to do the research on this matter, who is called Tsutomu Nishioka. He said he couldn't stop shaking. Mr. Nishioka thought if this were true, Japan had done something extraordinary and which cannot make it up. And if this were true, we could be asked for any kinds of compensation, but cannot make it up. I also felt quite strong discomfort, because this statement by Mr. Yoshida that those women were entrained under the entrainment to under the name of the Joshi Te Shintai, it was known as a wrong statement. So after reading this Mr. Yoshida's book, which was published in Korea in 1989 in Korean language, this reporter went to visit Jeju Island and those places that Mr. Yoshida states that those Korean women were taken, and she asked those elderly people what had happened, but they said there was no such a case, and in such a small village, even one woman was taken, somebody should have remembered. So she had written an article on a Korean newspaper what she had discovered. And at the same time, even in Japan, there are so many people who had to doubt what Mr. Yoshida had written.
これは畑育福さんが書いた慰安婦の本です。興味のある方はこちらの側の主張もきちんと読んでいただければと思います。
So Mr. Ikuhiko Hata made a research and article on this matter of the Kyoserenko and made an article on Sankei newspaper as well as Bunge Shunju and those comfort women's issue. And he also wrote a book about comfort women. And I'm going to donate a copy of this book at the library of this institution. So if you are interested, please take a look and also know the argument from this side. And going back to Mr. Uemura, as Ms. Hayashi said, even at the court, in his statement, Mr. Uemura said he recognized this when Ms. Kim Hak-sun spoke to the organization who supports those comfort women and also the Korean laborers during the World War, and she said she was cheated and not really taken to the Joshi Te Shintai under the organization named under Joshi Te Shintai. So I'm going to repeat myself again just to make it clear that District Court of Sapporo recognizes that plaintiff also admit that Ms. Kim Hak-sun said in her talk to the organization to support comfort women, she said she was cheated and not taken to the organization named or called Joshi Te Shintai. And Mr. Uemura says in Korea, he says the reason why he used Joshite Shintai was in Korea, Joshite Shintai means a comfort woman. And that is what he says in the court statement. So I'm repeating again that therefore the Ms. Kim Hak-sun was not taken by the law or the regulation. And he realized that, but still made the article as such. So therefore, by the Asahi newspaper's report repeatedly talking about Mr. Yoshida's statement, there was the hypothesis that those women were taken under the name of Joshite Shintai. And a lot of Japanese people did not believe such a thing cannot happen. Then Mr. Uemura wrote an article that yes, living proof is in Seoul, is still living in the city of Seoul. And afterwards, I believe you remember the big dispute over the comfort of women, what Japan has done. And 32 years after, finally, Asahi newspaper admitted all the statement made by Mr. Yoshida was flawed, so taking away all the article related to him. So in such a context and framework, the serious impact of what Mr. Uemura wrote, I have been always criticizing. So this framework, District Court of Sapporo had admitted and also recognized. I highly evaluate the court decision as such. So I came to here at this place, and I'm a member of this organization, and some of the people who are here in this room are long-term friends of mine. However, as I was introduced by Ilgin, that are religious and also related to Nihon Kaigi, even though those are friends and also with the organization which I recognize as my friend, have a misunderstanding of me. I don't really care if my friends from this organization criticize me. I just want to enhance that I really do not care. Yeah, because I believe in the speech, it is fine to say and to criticize. And if you are criticized, you just make the statement or counter argument with the facts. Then if they argue back, you could still counter argue again. I would like to think why those people who are member of this organization, even though they are friends, they start to be against me once the topic becomes comfort women. And I'm sorry to say this because there is my friend who is from Asahi newspaper, but I think the big responsibility is owned by Asahi newspaper, because Asahi newspaper admitted that there was all the statement and articles made by Mr. Yoshida was flawed back in August 2014, but it was only in Japanese or Japanese community, and not the right statement was made in English. So even if the statement or correction statement was made in English, it is quite difficult to understand. And actually, Mr. Kent Gilbert and also Japanese person called Tetsuhide Yamaoka had studied those articles and said as such. And all the details can be found in my articles written in English, and also the website.
Thank you. Thank you, Sakurai-san. And thank you also for your really heartfelt sympathy for women whose rights are violated anywhere in the world. Thank you so much. Now, we really have short time for a question and answer.
Più D'Emilia from Italy Sky TG24. First of all, let me apologize because I was supposed to moderate this today, but actually my taxi got an accident, so I had to make the witness for the police, so I'm sorry. Anyway, just for be frank, if I would have been introducing you, like I should have done, I would exactly use the same words. So total solidarity to my friend Yugin. Nobody can deny that you are a conservative, extreme conservative, and that you are a member of Nihon Kaigi. This is not an opinion, it's a statement, it's a truth. So, but let's stick to the journalist side. This is a press club, and although this ruling is very strange, in my opinion, because yesterday from Uemura-san we got totally different interpretation. But let's stick to the journalist side, because you too are a genro. very famous one, probably more than you, Mura-san. So as a journalist to the journalist, I'm asking two questions. First, why, as a journalist, you did not, before writing your own story, thought to interview this woman in Seoul and Mr. Uemura himself? If I would have been you, I would have started from that. So this is the first question. Secondly, yourself, you are not an historian. You are a journalist, so you are entitled to opinions, to facts, but certainly you cannot have a competent view on history. You are not a historian. In this, I would like to ask you, how many comfort women did you actually meet and did you talk to?
Thank you very much. First of all, you mentioned about how I was introduced by the MC, and you said you would introduce me as extreme the same way. And I was. You mentioned I was extreme conservative, and also I was introduced actually as a religious. And I recognize I'm not a revealer. However, I don't know if I could be categorized as extreme, quote unquote. But because on the international standard, I feel I would be somewhere in the middle. So if you say revisionist, that means you rewrite the facts in the past. But I totally do not agree that I rewrite what happened in the past in the history. What is doing what. I think Asahi newspaper and Mr. Uemura is the ones who is doing so. So therefore, my statement is: if you feel if you do not agree with what I said, you should make the argument as a journalist. So that's what I'm doing as a journalist. And also the other point I would like to state is even though you know me for decades at here, you said I'm a member of Nihon Kaigi. That is different from the fact I'm not a member. So if you say I'm a sympathizer, yes, I would accept as your opinion, but to be called as a member, that is not the truth. So having said it, I would like to answer why I did not talk to Mr. Uemura. Actually, Mr. Nishioka had asked for an open dialogue with Mr. Uemura, but he had denied it. And also, one of the stakeholders in this court case, the WAC, we offered a page to Mr. Uemura for the open discussion, but he also declined. Actually, I sent a list of the requests to Asahi newspaper. I mean, the questions to Asahi newspaper. So this is also written in Asahi newspaper's third-party research commission about the comfort women. I made a statement through the Shinchosha. Why the report was made such. So I'm going to skip all the questions because it's rather long. But the answer I get was there's the expression that you tie your nose by wood, which means you give a very polite reply, but it's not answering anything. That was the answer I got from Asahi newspaper. And even in the report by the third-party research commission for the question from Ms. Sakurai, it's quite difficult to say that the Asahi newspaper replied in a sincere way, and the statement of such was made twice in the report. So that's why I did not ask Mr. Uemura because of this background. And the other thing is we all write articles with our name on it. And when you write an article with your name on it, there are quite few people, they might make a discussion or dispute on your article. However, in such a case, you would not go to the person who made a counter-argument or criticize to your article and interview them one by one. As a journalist, if you made an article with your name on it, that is the end of the story. And how it is criticized or not criticized, that is not what's your business. And also there's a point that why I did not ask questions to those comfort women, and because I have been doing the research and studies on this issue quite early stage, maybe some decades ago. Because in terms of the comfort women's issue, in 91 and 92, Mr. Miyazawa went to Korea and apologized 8 times. So I started wondering if that was really the entrenchment. Because the reason why I started wondering was because those people whom I interviewed, they said the Teishin Joshi Teishin Tai and also the comfort women are different, and there is the comfort women was not made under the entrainment. So because I started wondering those speech was made by the chief cabinet officer back then, Mr. Kono, and also Prime Minister Miyazawa, why such a statement was made and apology was made. And I actually asked Prime Minister Miyazawa to have an interview, but it was declined. And also those people who Mr. Kato, Koichi Kato, and also the person from the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and Kono Yohei, and also Sakutaro Taino, and Nobuo Ishihara, also the chief cabinet officer back then, and also the ambassador from Korea. So those people were also involved, and I talked to them. And on top of it, I was talking to Mr. Nishioka, who is a specialist of the Korean Peninsula issue, and also the Dr. An Byung-suk from Korea. And also I had read those articles, what comfort women had to say, and also what have been said in the press conference. So I did all my best, as I just explained. So that's why I did not go and talk to those the women who had been comfort women. So my name is Nanao from Nico Nico Doga, and yesterday and today we have seen, and actually users have seen this press conference, and I think it's very good for the users. I would like to read out the question from the users, and also I'm going to read out what Mr. Uemura said yesterday. Japanese young people and also Korean young people have to carry the future of the Asia. However, even if you look at the translation of comfort women, there is a big discrepancy between those. So what I would like to make a statement today was not that I'm going to appeal to the higher court, but I would like to tell those people who are in a way represented by Ms. Sakurai that this is not only about the entrenchment of the women or the trafficking of the women, and we should really face what had happened in the past, and also those people who made sacrifices in the past, and try to make the future and work together and make the movement that could be beneficial for the future. So this is a comment from the user, but what Mr. Uemura said yesterday and what you had said today are quite different. So that's why the users are confused. So I'd like to know what you think about this. Yes, as Mr. Uemura says, I'm totally supportive of we have to work together towards the Asian future and also young generations. So to make it happen, as a journalist, we should show what the facts you have in your mind and show it to each other and see what the differences in between two of us. Then maybe admit that, okay, I was wrong in this part, but maybe the point you're making in this part is not right. So there are those two press conferences at this place, because 1 week ago, Mr. Uemura said he wants to make a press conference here, and so that's why I got a call from the professional activity committee that for the same court case, only the plaintiff part would make a press conference is not right. So as a defendant, you probably want to make a press conference as well. So then I accepted and said yes, and also about 2 weeks. I recall it was about 2 weeks ago that on Thursday or even on Thursday. First it was proposed to make it on the afternoon of the Thursday, but I said if it were in the morning of this time, because I needed to leave by the bullet train to go to the regional place, we could make a joint press conference with Mr. Uemura, but it was declined. And Professional Activity Committee was quite happy that I agreed on them. However, it was either next day or the following day, I need to look at my memo that I got call from Professional Activities Committee that Mr. Uemura had declined it. So therefore, I thought the press conference was cancelled. So however, Mr. Uemura, I was informed that Mr. Uemura was having the press conference on Thursday from 1 to 2 p.m. However, the Thursday afternoon was not good for me originally, so that's why I decided to have this slot today. So therefore, I'm ready to have discussion with Mr. Uemura or talk to him. And I think by having such a discussion between us, I think what Mr. Uemura calls the gap can be filled, but Mr. Uemura is the one who declined my offer. My name is Aya Hasegawa. I'm a reporter for the newspaper. I'm here as one journalist today. My name is Aya Hasegawa. I'm a reporter for the newspaper. I'm here as one journalist today. Yeah, at the court decision, the court did not admit that Mr. Uemura made a forgery in his report. But do you believe it was the case? I have two questions.
You have to limit it to one question. I'm very, very sorry.
Okay, my question is, in 1998, Mr. Cry said Mr. Uemura made a wrong report, or he is maybe confused, and as criticizing Mr. Uemura. But in 2014, you started saying that he made a forgery. How and why you changed your opinion?
長谷川さんは北海道新聞の記者でいらっしゃいます。
はい、そうです。
You must be a reporter from Hokkaido newspaper. I think what I said was for the report of the article that Mr. Uemura made is if somebody is called a forgery, it could be the way it's such. I wrote that as time passes and also we discover the things that maybe I started wondering, and also maybe he cannot approve himself that if somebody makes a statement that it was a forgery he made.
何が分かったかってね、いろんなことが分かったとおっしゃいましたけど、いろんなことは具体的に何ですか？
So you said many discoveries were made. Well, what are they?
Okay, I'm sorry. I really think we should have wrapped up by 1:30. It's now 2 o'clock, and I have to stop here, if that's okay.
1点だけ。今、北海道新聞の長谷川さんが、この判決は捏造を認めなかったというふうにおっしゃり、昨日の上村さんの判決の要約もそのように書いていると思いますが、そのようなことはありません。
I just want to point out one thing that as Ms. Hayakawa said, that the court did not accept that the Mr. Uemura's article was forgery. However, as I made a statement at the beginning of the press conference, more accurately, we explained the court decision much more accurately than Mr. Uemura. So please refer my document.
Thank you for coming here, everybody, today, and thank you, Sakurai-san.
皆さんありがとうございました。桜井さんもありがとうございました。